So I'm back in this position. We had just rook to d1, and the game finished at this point in time. And yeah, let's keep watching Radjabov very low on time and making some moves. And now we have a4, the best move by Hikaru Nakamura. And now we have rook to h1 check, forcing the king to move to g3. And after that, we have h4 check. And here, really, the engine wants very much Hikaru to go to f2 with his king, or somewhere on the f file, but Hikaru goes to g2, actually giving away somewhat some part of his advantage if and only if black moves the rook over to b1. But actually Radjabov goes for rook to c1, again giving a huge advantage to Hikaru according to the engine. And now we have a5, simply starting to push this pass pawn, and it's not gonna be easy to stop this pass pawn. It's very far away from the king, so the king will have to walk for a long time to get there, and it's gonna be very hard for Radjabov to get out of this. And he is now already over the 60 move mark, so he got some extra time. But still, he is way lower on time than Hikaru. And Hikaru now plays king to f2, bringing the king much more on a much more active square. And yeah, this is also a sign that he already should have played king to somewhere on the f file to move 61 here. But he does it now, and he is still much better. So we have now king to g4, black bringing in the king. And yeah, of course, black's counterplay comes from the h pawn. Radjabov was gonna try to push this pawn at some point, and of course, if Radjabov can somehow sacrifice his bishop for for all the pawns, let's say, and trade the rooks, well, then it will simply be a draw. But it's not gonna be as easy. So we have rook to f8 now, attacking Radjabov's bishop on f7, and Radjabov goes now h3. He sacrifices the bishop on f7. Hikaru grabs it, and well, he relies on now h2, putting very much pressure on Hikaru now. But there is really not so much danger. He plays king to g7 check, and now rook to rook to g7 check, and now king to f4, and now we have knight to e2 check. So bringing the knight, and of course you're forking the rook and the king, but you cannot grab the rook in this position since black is threatening to promote. So you have to play knight back to g3, and now the h1 square is covered. And of course, if black were to promote here, well, you're simply going to be taken, and this will be a very easily winning endgame for white. So we don't have this on the board. Radjabov wants to make it difficult for Hikaru, and we have rook to c2 check, and now king to f3, moving out of the way, and now one more check with rook to c3. Now Hikaru goes down to g2, and we have now rook captures on b3. So again, the pawn situation is equal, and if all the pawns and the rooks get traded, it's gonna be a draw, because white will simply be left with a knight. And of course, it's still possible to fuck it up, but Hikaru is way better, of course, and he has also more on time, and he's not gonna probably blunder the situation. So we have now a6, simply again pushing the pawn on the a file, and now rook to a3, controlling the file, but Hikaru is in time to play a7, protecting the pawn with the rook on g7. So we have now king to d4, attacking the pawn, and now we have knight f5 check. And Radjabov grabs Hikaru's pawn here, so his has now one pawn more technically, but both of his pawns are not able to be pushed, and really don't do very much. And he's of course down the knight, so it's gonna be very hard for him. We now have rook to b7, because as white you cannot allow this king to move into b5, b6. Well, if black manages to grab this pawn, well, you will not be able to win this game. So we have now rook to b7, cutting off the king's pathway towards the pawn, and then we have now king to c5, again trying to approach the rook, trying to hand it away to then get to the pawn. So we have now knight to e7, And well, that's the golden pathway for the knight to c8, and from there you will be protecting the pawn, and then you will be promoting after something like rook to b8. And yeah, Radjabov lost time. He has a completely lost position, and he has one of the best players in the world he is playing against. So there is nothing left to be done. This is the end of the game. This is the position where he resigns in. And it was a beautiful game by Hikaru. Very good win after the loss in the first round. He comes back with a win. So he has now 1 point out of 2. And actually all the other games of today. So click away if you don't want spoilers for the other games of today. But they all ended in draws. So Hikaru was the only person today who managed to win the game. So congratulations to him. And yeah, I hope to see more decisive games, of course, very much in the future. And yeah, that's it for this video. If you want to see more recaps of the candidates, subscribe to my channel and like this video. And as always, thanks for watching.